Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Those, when calamity strikes upon them, قالوا, they say, إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Indeed, we belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him we shall return. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Welcome to Merciful Servant. Subhanallah, we'll be looking at a few things in this particular verse. The word over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. Musibah is translated as calamity or infliction or a disaster. But the real meaning of musibah is understood by the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he was lying down one of the days in his house, and the lantern, the lantern in those days didn't have electricity, so the lantern, due to the gust of wind, turned off, and it was dark all of a sudden. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." So Aisha radiallahu anha, she turned back and she said, "A musibatun hu? Is this a calamity, ya Rasulullah?" And he replied back, he said, anything that displeases a believer is a calamity for him, or is a musibah for him. Now musibah, or a calamity, whenever it befalls on a Muslim, he needs to look at few things. Number one, he needs to look at whether this calamity was a direct source, like part and parcel of the person's own action. I.e., for example, somebody's driving speeds, he's driving his car extreme high speeds and recklessly driving it, and he gets into a car wreck. He is part and parcel of the cause of that particular accident. And in this particular case, he has no one else to blame other than he himself, and he needs to say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un for this case. But sometimes calamities might fall onto you or might come to you, and you didn't do anything directly to bring this calamity upon you. And in this case, you need to ask two questions. Is this a just calamity or an unjust calamity? A just calamity, for example, you have decided to commit a sin. You get in your car, you're driving completely normal, you have your seatbelt on, and you're headed towards the destination of committing a sin in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And something happens to your car, a tire burst, or somebody hits your car, whatever. And in this particular case, your car gets into a wreck. It was not directly because of your direct actions, but because of your indirect intentions and actions of committing a sin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to test you, and He put you in a calamity to remind you that Allah is in control in your lives. In this particular scenario, we also say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Now the unjust scenario, if a calamity falls onto you, you haven't done directly anything to bring it upon yourself, is, for example, you're walking on the street and somebody just comes and arrests you and put you in a prison for, let's say, 5 years. This is completely unjust. What happened with Yusuf alayhi salam? He didn't do anything wrong, but he was thrown in prison for 9 years, or 7 or 9 years. In any case, that's unjust. He was unjustly thrown. So in this particular scenario, you need to be reminded of the fact that if somebody does injustice to you at this particular moment, remember that on the day of judgment, Allah will equal out everything. So if you don't get your justice in this dunya, rest assured that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make things equal for you on the day of judgment.